In 1968, Tatiana Tarasov attended the University of California, where she met a young man named Prosenjit Poddar, a student originally from India. Prosenjit immediately took a liking to Tatiana, a small crush that would soon turn very dark. After the two had shared a kiss at a New Year's Eve party, Tatiana took it upon herself to let Prosenjit know that it was just a friendly kiss, and she had no romantic feelings towards him. Prosenjit couldn't handle his affection not being returned, and shortly after, he grew an unhealthy obsession with her. He soon began stalking and secretly recording conversations with her, but it was not enough for him. He started fantasizing about murdering Tatiana. In 1969, Prosenjit started going to the school psychologist. During a session with the psychologist, Prosenjit came clean and admitted his intentions of killing Tatiana, to which the psychologist diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia and immediately informed the campus police. The police quickly interviewed Prosenjit and came to the conclusion that he was no harm to Tatiana, letting him go without informing Tatiana of the incident. On October 27th, Prosenjit started to go to Tatiana's house, and when she answered the door, he shot her with a pellet gun, proceeding to stab her 14 times. After committing this murder, he was finally satisfied and turned himself in to the police. Prosenjit only served 5 years in jail and was deported back to India. This case stirred a lot of controversy in America, going as far as a Supreme Court case ruling that states mental health professionals have a duty to forego confidentiality to warn people who are threatened by patients. Robert John Bardo was born into a chaotic and abusive home and was the youngest of 7 siblings. At an early age, he was being abused by an older brother so badly that he was placed into foster care. Bardo was no amateur to stalking. By 1985, he had already been stalking child peace activist Samantha Smith before she tragically died in a plane crash in 1985. After Samantha had died, Bardo became obsessed with actress Rebecca Schaeffer, a star on the TV show My Sister Sam. Bardo began writing letters to Miss Schaeffer, though he had only one letter in return from her, and it was from an employee who ran her fan service. In 1987, Bardo decided it was finally time to meet Rebecca, thus traveling all the way to Los Angeles to see her. Bardo tried walking onto the set of My Sister Sam to see Miss Schaeffer and was immediately turned down by security. Enraged, Bardo tried getting to Rebecca again, this time with a knife at hand, but the security guard stopped him, preventing him from gaining access to Rebecca. Bardo returned home and slowly lost interest in Rebecca, growing another obsession with yet another star, Debbie Gibson. That obsession would soon come to a halt when he saw Rebecca Schaeffer in the movie Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. In one of the scenes, Rebecca was in bed with another male co-star. Bardo was filled with resentment and envy, deciding it was finally time to punish Miss Schaeffer. Bardo approached a private investigator to find Rebecca's place of residence. After getting a hold of her address, Bardo's older brother helped him get a handgun. He then traveled to Los Angeles for a third and final time. He went to Schaeffer's apartment, rang the bell, and when she answered, he showed her a letter she had sent him and autographed. She told Bardo to never return and closed the door. Regardless of this, Bardo returned a third time to Rebecca's apartment. This time, when she answered the door, he pulled out his handgun and shot her in the chest, immediately ending her life. He was arrested the following day after running through highway traffic and confessed to the murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. In 1993, Ricardo Lopez became dangerously obsessed with Icelandic singer Bjork. Ricardo, like many stalkers, began writing letters to Bjork in hopes to get a reply. As his obsession grew, the more he would become disconnected from reality. He would write in a personal journal about how he wanted to affect the artist's life in a significant way. He even thought about building a time machine to go back to the 1970s when Bjork was just a young girl and become friends with her. He even wrote how he saw Bjork as a daughter type, even though she was 9 years older than him. He wrote over 800 pages in his journal, including feelings about Bjork, his inadequacy, and being overweight. Additionally, Lopez wrote about how he was never loved or liked by a girl. Ricardo made over 408 references to Bjork in his journal. In 1996, Ricardo found out that Bjork was in a relationship. After finding out that news, he was devastated and was determined that she needed to be punished for wasting his time. He started a video diary, saying his purpose was to document, and I quote, "My life, my art, my plan. Comfort is what I seek in speaking to you. I am being my own psychologist. You are a camera. I am Ricardo." In one of the video entries, he talks about the singer, saying, "I'm just going to have to kill her. I'm going to send her a package. I'm going to be sending her hell." At first, Lopez wanted to construct a bomb with blood that was HIV positive to send to the singer, but soon realized that no such thing can be created. Instead, he made a homemade letter bomb and sent it to Bjork's home. The plan was, when she opened the package, the bomb would go off and kill or disfigure the singer. The last step in his plan was to commit suicide, in hopes that, when he died, he would be with her in heaven and the two could be together forever. September 12th, 1996. Lopez filmed his last entry into his video journal. It began with him going to the post office, sending his package, returning home from the post office, and Lopez getting naked in front of the camera while Bjork's music played in the background. He then proceeded to shave his head and paint it red and green. Lopez told the camera that he was a little nervous now, and took the gun, cocked it back, and said one final thing to the camera. His final words being, "This is for you," and shot himself in the mouth. His body fell down, and a sign that was previously behind him was in focus. The sign read, "The best of me, September 12th. On September 16th, a neighbor called the police due to the foul odor that was wafting from Ricardo's apartment. Police came to find the body of Lopez with a sign that read, "The 8mm videos are documentation of a crime, terrorist matter, and for the FBI." The police viewed the tapes and contacted Scotland Yard to inform them of the bomb that was en route to Bjork. Luckily, the package had not yet made its way to Bjork. The police managed to obtain the bomb and safely detonate it. Unknown to Lopez, days before his suicide, Bjork had actually ended her relationship, which was the reason for Ricardo's actions. Bjork made a statement saying she was very distressed and saddened over the situation, saying that people should not take her music too literally. After seeing the 1976 film Taxi Driver, John Hinckley Jr. became obsessed with actress Jodie Foster, who played a child prostitute in the movie. He was so enthralled over the actress that when she took a break from acting to go to Yale University, he followed her to Connecticut and enrolled in Yale, simply so he could be close to her, thinking he could attempt to start a relationship with her. John began writing love poems to Jodie, putting them under her door, and calling her at all hours of the night. Jodie did not return Hinckley's feelings, making the man deranged. John then started fantasizing about killing himself in front of Jodie to get her attention. In addition to the thoughts he already had of conducting an aircraft hijacking, John settled on the idea of assassinating a president to impress Miss Jodie in hopes she would view him as an equal. He began to plot ways to kill the newly elected Ronald Reagan, but not before letting Jodie know his plans in a letter he wrote to her that reads, "Over the past 7 months, I've left you dozens of poems, letters, and love messages in the faint hope that you could develop an interest in me. Although we talked on the phone a couple of times, I never had the nerve to simply approach you and introduce myself. The reason I'm going ahead with this attempt now is because I cannot wait any longer to impress you." On March 30th, 1981, Hinckley shot at Reagan over 6 times when the president was leaving the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. Hinckley also shot a policeman, a Secret Service agent, and Press Secretary James Brady. Luckily, none of them died. Hinckley did not run or flee the scene and was arrested on the spot. He was charged with 13 offences. However, Hinckley got off on reasons of insanity and was sent for treatment to St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. Richard Farley worked as a software technician at ESL Inc., where he met a young Laura Black, who also worked there. Richard was immediately infatuated with Laura. He shortly began writing her letters, giving her gifts, and leaving her homemade food at her desk. He reportedly asked her out numerous times, but she always turned him down. Even though she rejected Richard, this did not deter him. Richard began calling her desk every hour and would show up unexpectedly at random places she went to, continuously asking her out. Farley obtained Laura's address and number by tricking HR, and also obtained a key to Laura's desk so he could look through her items, getting an insight into her personal life. Farley then began sending 2 letters a week to Miss Black, it coming to an overall total of at least 200 letters. During the 4 years of being stalked by Farley, Laura moved over 4 times, and each time, Richard would find where she lived, continuing his harassment. In 1985, Black told Human Resources about what was happening with Richard, and they made him take counselling sessions. It, unfortunately, didn't work, as he continued to harass Laura. Richard then started to threaten fellow employees, his work performance in turn falling low, eventually being terminated from ESL. Black then filed a restraining order against Richard in 1988, to which he followed up by purchasing a shotgun and various other weapons, with over 3,000 rounds of ammunition. February 6, 1988, a day before the court case dealing with the restraining order, Richard pulled up to ESL parking lot. At 3 p.m, Richard loaded his weapon, including his shotgun, a smoke bomb, Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol, and many more, carrying over 1,000 rounds of ammunition on him. Farley stormed the building, shooting at bystanders, and entered the building by shooting a glass side door. Any employee who approached him, Farley would shoot, making his way to Laura's office. Laura attempted to hold the door shut so Richard could not enter, so he shot her through the door, the bullet hitting her in the shoulder. She fell unconscious, resulting in Richard thinking he had killed her. Shortly after, he began a standoff with a SWAT team. Laura eventually woke up and stopped her wound from any further bleeding, hiding with the other employees away from Richard. Eventually, Laura and the other surviving employees escaped, while Richard surrendered to the police. 7 people were killed, and 4 were injured on that horrific day. Farley admitted to the murders, but still pleaded not guilty. He was found guilty on all 7 murders in first degree and was sentenced to death. Richard Farley is still alive today, awaiting his execution in San Quentin prison.